Mr. Chair, we're now live.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Ajax Committee of Adjustment meeting for June 24th, 2020. This meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is being held electronically and live streamed on the internet. Due to the COVID-19 emergency and requirements for physical distancing, no in-person attendance is permitted at this meeting. All regular practices and procedures of the committee continue to apply during this electronic meeting. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we may take a brief recess while they are resolved. Thank you for your patience. We'll now proceed with the meeting. Before moving to the application portion of the meeting, would committee members please confirm whether there are any disclosures of interest for tonight's meeting?
None.
Seeing none, thank you. Then if we can look for adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting for May 27th, 2020.
Go ahead, Laurie.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see who was first there.
Laurie was first.
Laurie, okay, motion moved by Laurie and a seconder.
Cecil.
Seconded by Cecil, thank you. And all in favor? Great, minutes for the May 27th meeting have been adopted. The Committee of Adjustment is bound by the Planning Act to assess each application based upon its ability to meet 4 tests: that the application is minor in nature, is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the lands, and finally is in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The process for tonight's meeting will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant and/or agent will be called upon and at their option may provide a brief description of the minor variance application they have applied for. Committee members may ask questions of the applicant and/or agent, after which anyone with a direct interest in the application will be given the opportunity to speak either for or against the application. Once a motion is put forward by a committee member, there will be no further input from the applicant or anyone having interest in the application. After a decision is made, notice will be sent out and there will be a 20-day appeal period. Anyone having interest in the application may appeal to the local planning appeals tribunal within 20 days of the decision of the committee. After 20 days, the decision will become final and binding. If a building permit or other approvals are required, they may be filed during the appeal period. However, no building permits will be issued until the appeal period is over and the decision becomes final and binding. A respectful decorum during this evening's proceedings is expected of all present at all times. And just to introduce the committee members present for this evening, we have Mark Pavlik, Cecil Ramnath, Wasif Ahmed, Laurie Roberts. I'm the chair of the committee, Greg Whitfield. And with us from the Town of Ajax staff this evening, we have Caitlin Grout, Secretary Treasurer and Senior Planner for the Town of Ajax. Before beginning the meeting, committee members agreed to swap the agenda items for this evening. So we will be holding down application A6/20 for 2955A Seabreeze Road till the end of this evening's meeting. And we will be proceeding with application A10/20 for 26 Harley Drive first. Sorry, just give me 1 second. And Caitlin, can you please confirm if notice was served and advise whether any responses were received?
Yes, notice was served and there was 1 written response that was received in favor of the application.
Great, thank you very much. The application for 26 Hartley Drive is to permit a maximum driveway width of 5.4 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a maximum driveway width of 5.0 meters. Staff have written a report recommending approval of the application subject to 4 conditions. 1, that the subject variance apply only to the property municipally known as 26 Harley Drive, as shown as figure 2 within the report, or this decision shall become null and void. 2, that the driveway widening apply only to the private side of the property, or this decision shall become null and void. 3, that the owner or applicant maintain the historical drainage on the property, or this decision shall become null and void. And 4, that the owner or applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. To the applicant, if they are present, have you received a copy of this report?
Yes, we have received a copy of the report.
Great. And do you have any questions or comments on the conditions outlined by staff?
No.
Great. Well, if you don't mind introducing yourself and if you'd like to provide any additional information on your application, now is your chance.
I'm with my wife, Shweta. We both are the owners of 26 Harley Drive. We don't have any information to provide, so we just want to introduce ourselves to the committee members.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from members of committee? Mark?
Yeah,
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just a question through you to staff. Did I understand that the correspondence received was in favor of the applicant?
Yes, that's correct. Carolyn had received one email from a neighbor, and they just stated that they were in favor of the application. They didn't provide any further detail as to why.
Okay, thank you for confirming.
Any other questions from members of committee? Seeing none. Oh, sorry, Wasif.
Just maybe through the chair to the applicant. So you are aware that this variance is only for the driveway widening, and anything that's required with the building permit in terms of the steps or any lot line requirements, that would be a separate process, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, okay. I'm just not showing up on the screen, so I wasn't sure if you were hearing me or not. I'm the agent on behalf of the owner, and I prepared the application and submitted it. So yes, I'm aware that we have building code issues to deal with, which we'll deal with in Part B of our application. And that will address the side door, side stairs, and all the setbacks pertaining on that side during that building permit application.
Sure, and for the benefit of the committee and the recording through the chair, who was that speaking again?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Gerard O'Rourke.
Okay, thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. So, and you're basically saying that your client or the people that you're representing, they are aware that there could be potentially another minor variance.
Yes, they are aware of it, but we should not need it to accommodate legal side entry steps on that side yard. So we don't see a need for a secondary minor variance portion to deal with the building code items.
Okay, as long as there's awareness, that's perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from members of committee? Seeing none, in that case, we'll look for a motion, please. Mark?
So, Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of application A10/20 for 26 Harley Drive, seeing that it's minor in nature and meets the other tests set forth to us, provided that the applicant meets the recommendations or meets the conditions outlined by staff.
Great, thank you. And if there is a seconder on the motion? Seeing Wasif. Great, and all those in favor? Great, your application is approved, subject to the 20-day appeal period.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the second application for this evening, application A6/20 for 2955A Seabreeze Road. Variances requested are to permit a minimum setback from the exterior side lot line of 4.5 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum exterior side yard setback of 6 meters, to permit a minimum setback from the front lot line of 7.1 meters, where the bylaw requires a minimum front yard setback of 7.62 meters, and to permit a maximum lot coverage of 36%, where the zoning bylaw permits a maximum lot coverage of 33% of the lot area. Caitlin, was notice served and were any responses received?
Notice was served and we received numerous emails as well as a petition, all of which have been provided to the committee for their review.
Thank you. And for the applicant, staff has recommended approval of the application subject to 3 conditions outlined in the staff report. 1, that the owner applicant submit a Pickering Beach site plan application to the town and obtain approval of such application, or the decision shall become null and void. 2, that the owner or applicant obtain all necessary approvals from the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, or this decision shall become null and void. And 3, that the owner or applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. For the applicant, if they are present, have you received a copy of this report, and do you have any questions or comments on the conditions recommended by staff?
Just introduce myself. My name is Victor Aki. Thank you so much. I think the staff already done most of the job, so I don't need to make further comment.
Okay, you have nothing you'd like to add to the application to inform committee?
Well, apart from some of the, like the 4.5 meter setback, I noticed that it's already been granted to some other people around that area. That's all I have to. In the past, yeah. And I don't think it violates any of the place is still going to be very decent. Just the difference of 1.5 meters, yeah, it's not going to be.
Okay, great, thank you.
Problem, yeah.
Sorry.
And the 33%, the building envelope is going to be 33%. It's not going to exceed more than 33%. The reason they are putting the extra 3% is in case in future somebody wants to build a shade or something. But the requirement is 33%, and that's why we're sticking with 33%. It's not going to be more than 33%.
For the house itself?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Do members of the committee have any questions for the applicant? Cecil?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have a few very brief questions for staff, and as follows. My question number one is to staff. Can you describe how the Planning Act was followed in terms of public notice compliance for the proposed 2955A Seabreeze Road application? So dates for the mail out and the posting of public sign would be appreciated.
Sure. The Planning Act dictates the requirements for notice for any minor variance application. So the Planning Act requires that a sign be posted 10 days prior to the meeting, as well as notice sent out in the mail to a 60-meter circulation area, also 10 days prior to the public meeting. So for this specific application, the sign was posted on Thursday, June 11th, and the notices were mailed out on Wednesday, June 10th.
So that complies with the 10 days notice that you have to comply with?
That's correct. All the legislative timelines were followed with regards to providing notice, both for the sign posting and for the mail out of the notice.
Okay, thank you. And just reading some of the feedback that came from the community, I see that the Transportation Department has signed off with no comments on this application. Can you highlight the criteria for sign off? And does that include things like traffic calming mechanisms, road noise, blind spots, and the like? Would you comment on that, please?
Sure. So yeah, through the circulation of the application, the Transportation Department would review the application for anything relating to traffic concerns, vehicles turning, any blind spots that they foresee, and overall safety as it relates to traffic. So if there was any concern with regards to sight lines on a corner property, the Transportation Department would highlight this. The 4.5 meter exterior side yard setback is bigger than the typical exterior side yard setback. A lot of other zones in the town have a minimum 2 meter setback. So Transportation Department did sign off on the application, and they don't foresee that there would be any issues with sight lines or safety with regards to traffic.
And Cecil, Eric speaking here. I just want to add that through the land division process that created this parcel of land, a daylighting triangle was taken at the corner. So that'd be at the northeast corner of these lands. Those daylighting triangles are specifically taken to help with sightline issues. So from staff's perspective, there is no issues from a sightline perspective.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Am I correct in saying that the minor variance application before us is not about approving a proposed dwelling unit, but rather to only consider the proposed building footprint based on minimum setback? Is that correct?
So the variances that have been proposed are, yeah, they're basically setting a building footprint. through the site plan application process, it's very possible that a certain building wall might not be exactly to where that rectangle is shown on the site plan in the report. This is really just setting that overall footprint or coverage.
Okay, and so my last question is to staff. It's really a two-part question here. Is this application unique in seeking a minor variance for this area? And if it is not unique, does it fit the general pattern of setbacks previously approved for other properties? Would appreciate your comments, please.
In staff's opinion, it is not something that's unique. Over the years, there have been different variances for setbacks in this neighborhood, specifically the front lot line setback. We've approved variances for up to 6 meter setbacks, where in this case, it's a 7 meter that's being proposed. When you look at the existing neighborhood, the setbacks do vary. I mean, although in general, they are largely bigger, but a 7.1 meter setback in this case is not something that's going to deviate from the rest of the neighborhood or something that's completely out of character. As for the 4.5 meter setback, off the top of my head, I can't recall a specific one, but that's something you have to keep in mind though too, that it's an exterior side lot line. So only corner lots are going to have that situation coming up. And it's just possible that through the redevelopment that's happened, there haven't been corner lots. It's possible that we have done one, just off the top of my head, I can't remember one specifically. With respect to the coverage, we have done similar variances for coverage increases. And as Victor had mentioned, that in this case, the extra result of adding additional space for flexibility in case the future owner or tenant wants to put a shed in their backyard. When you look at the actual numbers, the dwelling itself is only right around the 33% mark.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Any other questions from members of committee? Mark?
Yeah, so just if, Mr. Chair, through staff, if we could just walk through the relief requested, just so it's clear to me anyway. So the bylaw permits 36% coverage, and we're looking at providing a relief of 33% or 3%. So the coverage would be 33%. That's correct, right?
No,
No,
so
okay.
the bylaw permits 33%.
Sorry.
I'm looking for an increase to go to 36%.
Yeah, sorry, that's my fault. I've
No worries.
inverted my numbers. So the bylaw is 33%, and we're looking to increase to 36%. On the front lot line, the bylaw is 7.62, and we're looking at about a half meter reduction, so to 7.1.
Correct.
And then in the exterior side lot line, the bylaw is the bylaw is 6.0, and we're looking to reduce that to 4.5, so 1.5 meters off the side.
Correct.
So I think piggybacking on what my colleague Cecil was asking, so particularly the 3% difference and the half meter on the front aren't overly significant, and or at least material, in my opinion. The side lot line being 1.5 meters is stands out a little more. Now your comment was that it wasn't that may have been approved in other properties in the past. It just wouldn't be that common simply because this is a corner lot, and corner lots aren't very prevalent. So this wouldn't come up for consideration all that often in any case, right?
That's correct. Most lots are interior lots, so that's not a common setback that's going to apply.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying.
Any other? Oh,
sorry, I was just going to add one more thing. The variance is only for the exterior side yard. The applicant is meeting the required setback for the interior side yard.
Right.
Great, thank you, Caitlin. Any other further questions? Lori?
Hi there. My question is for staff. These 4 new lots that have been developed, the size of them, are they in characteristic with other lots that run along Seabreeze there? Particularly, I'm looking at one of the first schedule that's on the application, 29, house number 2965, 2967, 2969. 2939 and 2941. Are they similar lot sizes?
Yeah, so the lots do vary in general. Just let me pull up my mapping here 1 second. But one thing I just want to point out that when the lots were created, they did meet the minimum lot frontage and lot depth requirements of the zoning bylaw. So the area, basically, the zone regulating the area is in compliance. So if you look at the properties, I guess, so 2965, 2967, and 2969, they're all pretty much identical to the 4 new ones that were created. However, 2957 and 2961 were actually in between those 2 sets. They're longer. They're original lots, though. They haven't been severed.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any further questions or comments from members of committee for the applicant or staff? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak either for or against the application this evening? No, seeing none. Well, in that case, if we could look for a motion on the application. Cecil?
Mr. Chair, subject to all 3 conditions as required by staff, I move to approve minor variance application A620 submitted by Victor Arkey for 2955A Seabreeze Road and is amended by staff to permit minimum setbacks from the exterior side and front lot lines, along with the maximum lot coverage of 36%, as it is minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use of the land, and it's in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaws. Mr. Chair, I move to approve.
Great, thank you. And if there is a seconder, please. Laurie, seconder. And all those in favor? Great, your application is approved, subject to the 20-day appeal period. That concludes the application portion of this evening's meeting. Moving on to other or new business. Do any members of committee or staff have any questions or comments or new business to discuss?
Are we meeting next month?
Yes, we will be meeting next month. Just give me 1 minute. I'm just pulling up the folder here. I think we already have, we've received 2 applications, 2 new applications. We do have a 3rd one that we're outstanding information. And the deadline to submit is next Thursday, as Wednesday is the statutory holiday. So we could receive more applications between now and then, but we will keep you posted.
Thank you. Well, if there is nothing else, I look for a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting. Laurie, and seconded by Mark. All those in favor? Perfect. That concludes this evening's meeting for committee adjustment.